Hello, welcome. I'm Carol DeChaine, your intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters and certified Marconics energy recalibration practitioner. Thank you so much for joining me today. So the last couple of times I've been talking about money, and this is my third part, and this time it's about your skill set. We talked about the difference between the two and about your mindset and how you could go about finding what's going on. And this time, we're going to talk about your skill set. So first, I want to tell you, please do not beat yourself up. Just because you don't have that kind of, you're not good at handling money, let's just put it that way. It's not your skill set. You weren't trained to do it. Rarely do we get trained to do anything related to money. We don't get trained in school or even by our parents most of the time. You're supposed to learn by osmosis. So if you don't have that, and it's not your wheelhouse, it's not something you're good at, it's okay. It's like sometimes you're good at science and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you have to work harder at it. And money is something that you can learn how to handle. But if you want to change your patterns and change not, maybe having all the way to bad credit or maybe even bankruptcy or 2 or 3, you need to put some priorities on this, because we can't live as human beings that I know of without money. We need money to survive, to live, to have roof over our head and food, and sometimes we can do things in trade, but generally we need money. So in order to keep everything rolling along, let's learn some of these skills that I'll give you 4 different ways that you can handle your money, whether you have thought of doing these yourself or not. So the first one is that you can hire somebody to take care of your money. And you might say, Carol, hello, I don't have money. How can I hire somebody? And I'd say if you have money, you would hire a money manager, maybe a financial planner, an investment counselor. But if you don't, it won't hurt you to hire a part-time bookkeeper. Someone who only spends an hour or 2 a month making sure that everything gets paid that you don't want to do. And if you have a business, the business would require somebody to make sure it's okay. It's up to speed. It's doing everything it needs to do. So if you have a business, definitely don't put that aside. That gets you in all kinds of trouble between taxes and everything else. So let's make sure that you're handled and you're covered. So if you hire someone, make sure that you have totally covered your bases, because so many things can go wrong when somebody else has control of your money. So I recommend first that you vet this person, majorly vet this person. If you have 5 stars on some sort of web page and you think that's enough, think again. The best way is still the old-fashioned way. Find someone you know who's a bookkeeper, someone you know that uses somebody part-time that you could add on an hour or 2. And that's really the best way. Or if they're bonded, you're in good shape. Not too many bookkeepers in the past have been bonded, but you might find a few more nowadays. So another thing you absolutely need to do if you have someone else working for you is to have a separate bank account. Totally maintain it just for paying bills. Don't have any money coming into it, like an automatic paycheck deposit. That's a larger amount than what you need. And don't have anything connected. Don't link your bank accounts. Have this one be a standalone. So the person that's working it will have the password. They'll be able to pay all your bills, and you can figure out between the 2 of you about how much you need to transfer over every month. And you can do a once-a-month transfer. They can remind you and say, hey, it's going to be the 15th. Please transfer over, say, $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever it is that is for the bills. And then they can check and let you know how much is remaining, so that you automatically do a specific amount and maybe a little bit more because you used more on your credit card or something. Now, the other thing that you want to make sure you do, honestly, is even though you hired somebody, you need to check. Please, at least at the beginning and on and off as you go along, check a couple things. Check the vendors that they've set up. Make sure that they actually are your vendors. It's not just a nickname that you look at and go, yeah, that's the right one. Make sure it's going to the right person. It's the right account number. And then let it go. check it again in another month or two. Make sure that it's the right ones. And then flip open to that bank account and look at it once or twice a week to start with. Just open it and see if everything looks about right. Close it out. You don't need to do anything except to look at who they're paying to make sure that you recognize the people. You may say, Carol, that's way too much work. I'm hiring somebody. I shouldn't have to do that. But if you want your money to be safe, you kind of do if you're hiring someone else. Don't be silly. Don't be lazy. And let someone else handle your money, and then you hear about it all the time. People abscond with it. They just take the money. Don't let that happen to you. So if you hire someone, make sure you think of different ways to safeguard yourself. Now you can also have someone you know do it. And sometimes it might be your spouse. But let me just put a warning out there. It's kind of a slippery slope. You know, divorces happen. One of the main causes is finances. So make sure if your spouse is going to handle it for you, that they don't mind. They're okay paying the bills. And then check in and make sure how far they're okay doing. Because if you have taxes that you need to do and they're really long and involved, maybe that's where they draw the line. And you need to get someone else to do that piece. But maybe they're willing to do the day-to-day, month-to-month things. So if you work it out and that works for you, if you're a new couple and you haven't been married long or you haven't been together too long, I do recommend setting up one joint account where both of you, you look at how much you're willing to put in. If you make different amounts of money, maybe you put different percentages in, which is normal. And once a month or twice a month, you put in your share. And then one person will pay the bills. And if you've been married 20 years and you have all kinds of bank accounts together, you don't need to set up a separate account. But maybe you pick one of your checking accounts if you've been doing it out of multiples, and you just pick one because it's so much easier to track it that way. So you know exactly what you're spending. And then as the party who doesn't pay the bills, make sure you look at that bank account sometimes. It's not that you don't trust your significant other. It's just that sometimes maybe they want to talk to you about the bills that have come in. And you want to be up on it enough so you can say, how much do we need to spend? Oh, that credit card was like $2,000. And we've been saving extra and we've been adding some to that account, but it's not enough. I see that there's something we need to talk about. So how much more do we need to put in? Or maybe you have extra because you've been putting in so much that all of a sudden you have a surplus and maybe you get to go on vacation with that amount. So you're up on it and you know what's going on. And you don't want them to think that you're looking over their shoulder in a bad way, just that you want to be able to be there and be able to talk to them when they bring something up. So that's the second way. The third way is, of course, if you have no clue how to do any of this, you can hire a mentor to teach you. Hire somebody to teach you. Have them show you the step-by-steps on how to do it yourself. And if you go, no, you haven't worked on your mindset, you're just not going to do it yourself, you're not going to, it's not going to work, then that's not the choice for you. But if you do know how to do it, and you're ready to put your foot down and say, okay, I just need to do this. I need to find a way to make this happen, because if you miss one credit card payment, you're going to have a ding against your credit. 2, 3, they just add up, and it's so easy to miss the date. So if you say, okay, show me, I want to do it myself, but it better be easy. I have good news and bad news. Now the bad news I'm going to give you first, because the bad news is that it'll take you some time to set it up. You can do it in a day, but you need to make sure that if you don't want to do it, you have somebody help you set it up. Get together all of your bills that you have them all in front of you, and then you'll need to set up all the vendors in the account. Now you don't want the other person to have your password, or you want to change your password afterwards, but make sure that first you set up all the vendors in your bank account so that you can pay the bills through that. And even the ones that aren't every time, like I have a AAA, which is just the yearly towing one that you pay for. Costco's once a year. But if you want to put those in, then put those in as well, because that way you don't have to revisit the vendors unless they tell you they're changing addresses or PO boxes or something. So you should be fine with that once you set it up. It's like one and done. I do highly recommend the things that are super important that the company is willing to do, like mortgages like if you're in a condo or a townhouse, association fees, and anything else you're comfortable with, you have those companies take the money out themselves. That way, you never have to worry about your mortgage not being paid unless you don't have enough money in your account. But you know it's coming out. You can usually tell them what date you want up to a certain amount of time. So it doesn't have to be the 1st, it can be like the 5th or something. But that takes a little bit of work. You have to contact, like I said, it's going to be a day or so. You got to contact them and ask for their documentation they require so that you can get it set up. But once you do, you're done. Because even if the association at the end of the year raises their association fee, which they tend to do, at least maybe every other year, but they do it, 10, 20 bucks, unless they change banks, you're done. They'll just automatically keep taking that money out so that you're safe. You won't have any problems dealing with it because it's just done. Set it up once, one and done. The mortgage, really good one to have that happen. Now, I don't personally have my utilities where they automatically take it out, but you may choose to do that because with utilities, sometimes it's much higher one month than another. For example, if you have a water breakage, a pipe or a sprinkler or something, and you don't realize it, you may suddenly have a $300 bill and they take it out automatically. And you're saying, I don't have enough money in my account because I didn't plan on that. Well, it's okay because you can call them. And if you have a one-time problem, they'll usually reverse it, at least in my area, because you fix it and they see that it's not an issue. Your past has never had that much. So you can fix it. But if you've already paid the bill, it's a little harder to get that money back. They do in the other utilities, however, with electric, here it's PG&E, they will actually kind of average it over the year. So 11 times of the year, they take out the same amount. So that may work perfectly for you. And then the 12th one, they kind of adjust it up or down depending on what you've been using. If you've been using a lot more, they'll adjust it up and then they'll adjust it up for the rest of the year again, the second year. So that's a way that you can make things happen once you set it up and take that time and put it on your list to make it happen. Those will get paid automatically. You won't have any problems whatsoever with that. The next thing that I really recommend is having a schedule. Setting up, well, in my bank account, I don't think it's the same way in all of them, but I have under my vendor that I put in there, it says get bill. And if you ask it to get the bill through your bank in the vendor area, it will automatically go and pull your every time you have a bill, like a credit card bill. If they are connected enough, they'll do that. Like Chase will do it. Capital One will do it. Some of the smaller ones like Macy's and Nordstrom's, I don't think they do. But those will, as well as the PG&E, the Comcast, cable bills and things, they'll do that as well. So if you choose to have it go through that way, you can ask it to go get the bill, and then you can set your notification up through your bank to say, every time I get a bill, tell me it's there. And when that's the case, it's so much easier because if you put things off, make sure you go and pay the bill as soon as you see that. And then, just in case you and you know you need another notification, you can put in numerous notifications that will say 2 days until this is due, or maybe 5 days until it's due, 2 days until it's due. Don't wait until the day it's due, or even the day before, because sometimes the bank is down. Sometimes there are other problems and you need to make sure that you have enough time for that payment to go through. But notifications, perfect. They really help. And that's another kind of automatic payment you can set up as well. When those bills come in, you can set up an automatic payment. But a lot of them are different amounts. So what do you do then? I do highly recommend for credit cards that if you know, separate out what you use them for. You may have one that's maxed out, and you always pay the same amount every month, and once in a while you can pay extra. With that one, make sure it's easy. Set up a payment automatically, month to month to month, and then you can, if you have an extra 100, you can just pay it whenever you want to, pay an extra amount. So that one will get paid. Now, I have one that I never use. So that one, obviously, I don't need to worry about. It's it's my case of emergency one, so it's rarely used. I have one I use for automatic payments that I like vitamins and things that they come every 2 months, and so they just charge me. Things like the bridge toll, the fast track for here. Those things are automatically done on one card. And so I know approximately how much it's going to be, not exactly because things shift a little sometimes, or maybe the bridge I'll have two chunks coming out in 1 month, but I can set up a minimum amount that I want to pay. I know that at least it's 100 or 150 every month. So maybe I set up automatically 100 because that 100 will make sure I'm never late. Not only am I never late, I never get a late fee. I don't get my credit dinged because something is paying on it. And it's big enough no matter how much you do because you know that that's always going to be more than the minimum payment because you're pretty consistent with what you do on that credit card. So I have another one. I actually have an automatic 400 because I do gas through that and I drive quite a bit. And I have my food on there. If I go out to eat, it's on there. So groceries, Target, things like that are always on that card. It's the one I carry with me. And that card is at least 400 to 500. So that one I have automatically coming out 400. Pay, pay, pay. Now, I'm not one that forgets or lets the time go by very often. But occasionally something will happen. I'll miss the date, even with notifications coming to tell me. And with those, oops. But I already have the 400 going through. So maybe I owe a little more and maybe I owe interest that I wasn't planning on paying. But that's not really that bad compared to getting dinged with your credit. Sometimes I know we have other people, obviously, in our lives that affect the way that we do the bills. It affects how much money goes out. So that can be so much more difficult. And this is all about you, through this training today. It's about how to help you and how perhaps you can understand the other person. Maybe they're the ones without the skill set and you're the one with it. So I want to make sure that first you understand. I want to review those 4 things that I offered as ideas for you to be able to have help with. So the first one is to hire someone else, to have them do it. But remember to put the safeguards in because it's so important to help yourself for the future, to make sure that while your bills are being paid, make sure they're really being paid by this person. Then you can ask a spouse or someone you love that you're around a lot to do it for you. And again, put in some safeguards. Just make sure if you're new with them that you check the account occasionally, that it's not attached to your personal. If it's somebody you've only dated a few months, it's probably not a good idea. And then the third thing is you can hire a mentor to train you if you don't know anything about it. And the last, of course, is to set up the entire thing for yourself. Set up automatic payments, transfers, reminders, all those things so you can remember to do it yourself, knowing that most of it is happening automatically. One last thing about that. Remember that you do have those wonderful Google reminder that you can have pop up on your phone now. So if you know there's one bill you always forget to pay, no matter how many notifications you have, maybe put it on, see when it's due, put it on 2 or 3 days before on your phone for a monthly reminder. That one will be your last shot of pay it now, you doofus. You can give yourself silly messages that's like, hello out there, this is your last chance, pay it now, or you're going to have trouble. Or, hello, love you, pay this bill now, please. Don't forget again. Or whatever you want to say to yourself. Or, love you, pay this bill. So that you remember that, yes, this is the one that's not really hooked through my bank. It's the one that I always forget. It's one that you need to pay a little more attention to. So by going out of your way, going out of your comfort zone, to set things up for yourself in the way that works the best for yourself. It's a pain at the beginning, but once it gets going, you're going to be so happy because getting your financial life in some sort of order is just, it's so relieving. I mean, the relief will be palpable. You really feel like you have things going and that your life is in much better shape. So thank you for joining me today. I'm Carol DeChaine, If you would like a free download on 5 steps to effortless quantum leaps, your business and your life, please check out my website, www.connecttojoy.com. That's connect, the number 2, joy.com. And there you'll also find information about me, about success and prosperity coaching that I help people with for their business and their life. Marconics Energy no-touch sessions, and you can sign up right there for one if you want. Energy clearing for your home and your office. And yes, there's more. Marconics recalibration, ascension energy, which will help you shift to the 5th dimensional and beyond to help you with those symptoms that perhaps you are experiencing that are part of that sort of energy modality. Thank you again for joining me. I'm Carol DeChaine. Until next time, thank you so much. Bye.